What happens when everything you thought you understood about health and healing is challenged by your own lived experience? Today I'm joined by Dr. Anne Alex, a doctor, author, speaker and mentor whose perspective changed when she found herself experiencing health challenges not only as a medical professional but as a patient. Anne shares what that journey taught her about resilience, self-empowerment, mindset and becoming an active participant in our own well-being. We also talk about the moments when life doesn't go to plan and how a setback can sometimes lead us towards a path we never expected to take. This isn't about pretending we can control everything that happens to us. It's about recognising where we still have choices, where change may be possible, and what can happen when we begin to look at our lives differently.
Welcome to Not Just a Story with Rose Davidson, where lived experience becomes meaning and stories create impact.
Hello, welcome to Not Just a Story with Rose Davidson. I'm your host, Rose Davidson, and today my guest is Anne Alex, and we're going to be talking about when life changes you, turning those setbacks into new beginnings. Anne Alex is a doctor, an author, speaker and mentor who helps people become active participants in their own health and well-being. Drawing on both her medical background and personal experience navigating major health challenges, she explores resilience, self-employment, mindset and lasting personal transformation. Anne is the author of New Paths, where she shares a fresh perspective on healing, change and the power of our thoughts, beliefs and daily choices. She inspires audiences to rethink what's possible and create meaningful change from the inside out. And it is such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for joining me here on Not Just a Story.
Thank you so much for having me, Rose.
So I understand you're in Germany at the moment and you're a medical practitioner. And so how long have you been doing that?
Yes, I actually just finished med school a couple of months ago, and I'm in the process of applying to various hospitals for my clinical or further clinical education.
And so you, as both a doctor and a patient, you challenged everything you thought you knew about health and healing. And I'd like to explore that a little bit about why lasting change begins with self-empowerment.
Well, so basically during my studies, I was diagnosed with a tumor, and that more or less forced my hand to focus more on my health, to look at all of my old habits, my life, and to see how I have to change myself in order to adapt and to overcome these struggles. And that's how I realized that we have to take responsibility for our health, for our well-being, and for our life in general. And that a lot of the time we just kind of, go through life and live our life, but we don't, we think that everything happens to us and don't realize that we actually have to be an active participant in our own lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think a lot of us sit back and think, oh, poor me, but when in actual fact, they could be making something of the poor me. Life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us, and there's always a reason that things happen, even if we don't understand what that is. Can I ask you, if it's not too personal, what the diagnosis was and what changed?
Yes, of course. I've had a bone tumor in my spine, and at first it only showed as pain. So I went through 6 months of really bad back pain and had the issue that my doctors didn't really believe me. They were like, okay, you're a medical student, you have a lot of stress, so of course you're tense, go to physical therapy, get a massage. And I've kept telling them that it's not that it's bad, that it's different, that it's not like usual tension. But yeah, basically, it took a long time and I had to change doctors as well for them to realize that something's actually wrong, and was diagnosed with a tumor. And by that point, it was too late to do anything else but to basically extract my vertebrae. So I had to undergo 3 surgeries to fix it, basically.
Oh, goodness me. Yes, I can absolutely empathize with you. I've had pain in my back for 6 years, and I've just recently had MRIs and CTs, and they keep telling me there's nothing wrong. Why am I in pain? They can't explain it, and they won't explain it. So, money is just going down the toilet basically because no one can tell me. So it's really frustrating. But this teaches us, I think, that we need to advocate for ourselves um, all the time, and just keep pushing the medical fraternity, and just don't let them push us away and tell us that there's nothing wrong when we know our bodies a lot better than they do.
Yes, and that teaches us to listen to our bodies. Because at the beginning, in my case, for example, I believed them and I was like, okay, maybe it's just me, over exaggerating, or maybe I'm really just being tense and stressed. So it really takes some time to start trusting your body as well and to realize, okay, my body is trying to tell me something and I need to listen and I can't just ignore it.
Yeah. So what did you do after the operations? How did you find your recovery process, and how is that going?
Well, I've had a lot of help from my family as well, and I found actually two really good physical therapists. So I worked with them a lot on, yeah, fixing my pain, fixing my back. I started working out and specifically train my back as well, which helped a whole lot. I had to go through the pain at the beginning, and I had to push through it to just build a strong, like, muscle skeletal system. And I also started going a lot into alternative complementary directions, approaches, and I basically tried a little bit of everything. Different therapies, I met a lot of different people with different healing strategies, and just kind of try to find something else besides general medicine. Because
Mm.
I do think the doctors did a good job in the end, and obviously I needed the surgeries, and I'm very grateful that they helped me. But also at some point I realized they couldn't do everything for me, and I had to like figure out a lot of stuff by myself and had to find different people and different methods to just, yeah, go into this entire holistic healing.
Mm. A lot of mindset has a lot to do with healing as well, doesn't it? I mean, you have to want to get better. I mean, we all want to get better when we're unwell. That's, true. But I think um, we need to have a healthier mind when we are unwell.
Yes, for me, it started like back in that time. I realized that I was very much in a victim mentality. So I was in pain. So I realized that. But at the same part, I kept thinking things like, why me? Why is it happening to me? It was at the beginning of my 20s. I was supposed to,
Mm.
go crazy, live my 20s, just enjoy life. And obviously, also, I was young. It's like nothing can happen to me because if you're young, you don't really think that, you're gonna, like, that your health is gonna decline at some point. So for me, I was very much in this negative headspace with all these negative thoughts that I, can't live my life like I wanted to, and that I, would have to miss out on a lot of stuff. And I just kept thinking, why me? And I just kept going down this negative spiral that basically the world is mean to me and everything is happening to me and that I can't do anything about it. And that's basically the classic victim mentality. And we have to get out of that. Like that's the enemy number one, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I guess it comes to the point that we have to fix ourselves. I mean, sometimes we need help, yes, but we can't always wait for someone else to come and rescue us or to fix us or do the things that we expect others to do for us. How did you overcome that? How did you fix that mindset?
Well, I started by basically just paying more attention to what I was thinking. And once you start paying attention, because normally your thoughts are kind of like this background noise, and you realize they exist, but you don't actually pay attention. And once I started doing that, I started noticing patterns. I started noticing small things like me talking down to myself, like, thinking mean comments about myself, which is completely unnecessary. And then I started just being aware of what was happening in my own mind. And then I started realizing how I actually wanted to think. And I went from all of this negativity and I slowly started to change the way I was talking to myself, the way I was thinking about myself. And then once I did that, I started watching my words. So basically, because sometimes you talk to friends and you say something like, "Oh, I'm so dumb, I forgot doing something," or "Oh, I'm such an idiot." And and we say it out loud. So I started by stopping these things, and it took me a couple of months, or well, I'm still working on it. Like it still happens sometimes, but I also started trying to be more open with my thoughts and with what I say. So I didn't want to be like, okay, it's not possible. I stopped saying it's not possible. I stopped saying I can't do it. I started saying, okay, I will find a way, or there's a way. And so I slowly changed, yeah, the way I was thinking, the way I was talking.
Yeah, same. I was always talking down to myself. Self-talk is one of the worst uh, things that we can do to ourselves. Negative self-talk. It really puts us in a negative space. And when we can learn to turn that around and start talking positively to ourselves, it changes the way we look at everything.
And it's not just the talking positive to yourself, it's also once you realize that our brain has this amazing capacity, this amazing ability to build new pathways, to change like literally its structure. And it's been proven that the more you think along the same lines, the stronger those neurons start to wire together.
Mm.
And once you start changing it, once you start changing the way you think, you're basically rewiring your entire brain.
Yep. No, I agree. I totally agree. And I think, I've read up on it that you can do that. And I think I was skeptical, but living proof that it works. And you are as well, which is wonderful. So, it is worth changing how we speak to ourselves every single day, even because your brain's always listening, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm. So, and tell me a little bit more about how you grew from, the person who was unwell, had the tumor in their back, advocated for yourself. How did you grow into the person that you are now?
Well, for me, it the tumor was a stop in my life. It was like the turning point because before my tumor, I was this very organized, very structured perfectionist. Like everything had to, work out, and I was um, very set in my ways, I would say. But also, I was more like I didn't think that that I could at some point not be healthy. Like for me, health wasn't really that much of a priority. I didn't really think about it because, I was young. So once I've had my tumor, I've gone through all of the pain, through everything. My entire perspective started to change. And suddenly for me, health and my quality of life became my number one priority. And it still is. And everything else just kind of had to fall in line behind it. So afterwards, I took a step back from my studies and I didn't take all of the classes in one semester. I was lucky enough that I was able to spread my classes out. So I went at a slower pace and I started prioritizing things that would make me feel better. I started to do at least something, like one fun thing every day to, make myself happy, to enjoy my days. I started listening way more to my body. And if my body told me, okay, it's at the breaking point again, I was like, okay, no, I need to step back. I need to adjust. I need to figure out how to do everything I want to do. And I still had my goals, obviously. So I needed to figure out how to accomplish everything that I set my mind to, but at the same point to listen to my body and to not go over limits and boundaries over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's really important to always listen to what your body's telling you. As women are better at doing it than men. I've found that men, get a bit of a twinge and they don't, it's a twinge and I'll get over it. But women are a bit more empathetic to their bodies, and they listen much more easily. However, we do sometimes tend to not listen and let things get out of proportion, and things become worse because we haven't listened and gone to the doctor when we should have gone to the doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do go over our limits a lot. But I think it's also because it's kind of what we're supposed to do today, to kind of suck it up and figure it out, because we are still we are used to performing and to having to perform every day.
Yeah, absolutely right. Tell me a little bit about your book, Anne. Tell what it's about.
So in my book, I started talking about how you can start taking responsibility for your life again. It's basically a little bit about my journey through my tumor, through everything I've learned. There are a lot of personal anecdotes in it to show how I changed my life. But at the same point, it talks a lot about neuroplasticity. And I mentioned it before, that's our brain's ability to change, to restructure, rewire itself. And I used that concept and a little bit of theory about how our brain works and combined it with imagination exercises. Because our brain technically doesn't really differentiate between what's happening in real life and what we imagine. As long as we imagine a situation with all of our senses, really immerse ourselves, for our brain, it's hard to differentiate. And so we can use our imagination to kind of rewire our brain and to create a reality we want to live in.
And where can the book be found? The New Paths, where can it be found?
It's available in German as well as in English on my website.
Oh, wonderful. And what's your website?
Website is n-m-alex.com.
Wonderful. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today. It's been a pleasure to learn more about you and to learn that we need to be more powerful in our thoughts and our thinking and reach the goals that we aspire to through positive thought.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you for listening to Not Just a Story with Rose Davidson. If something in this episode stayed with you, you're invited to reflect on your own story, in your own way, in your own time. And if you feel ready, you can share your story through the Impactful Voice Project at rosedavidson.com.au. This is a space where lived experience is honored and stories are shared with care. Until next time, your story matters.